My father's hometown is about a 2-hour drive from our home. Although it's just an ordinary farmhouse, I really enjoy that leisurely feeling. Once I got my motorcycle in high school, I often rode there alone during the summer and winter vacations. My grandparents were always happy to welcome me. However, the last time I went was just before my senior year in high school, so it's been over 10 years since I last visited. It's not that I haven't wanted to go back. It's just that I can't anymore, because of what happened. At the beginning of spring break, the weather was nice, so I rode my motorcycle to my grandfather's house to hang out. Although it was still a bit chilly, the walkway near the house felt warm and comfortable due to the sunlight, so I leisurely sat there soaking up the sun when I suddenly heard a strange sound. Pop, 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 pop. It wasn't mechanical. It sounded more like a person making a noise, and it resembled the sound of waves. Just as I was wondering what the sound was, I saw a hat on the outer wall. It wasn't just sitting on the wall itself. The hat was moving forward until it slipped through a crack in the wall. It looked like a woman was wearing it. She was dressed in a white dress, but the wall was about 2 meters high. How tall could that woman be to peek over it? While I was still astonished, the woman continued to move until she was out of my sight, and the hat disappeared too. Before I knew it, the popping sound had vanished as well. At that moment, I could only think that perhaps it was a very tall woman wearing super thick-soled boots, or maybe it was a very tall man dressed as a woman. Later, while having tea with my grandparents in the living room, I told them what had just happened. I just saw a gigantic woman. Could it be a man dressed as a woman? They responded with a simple, "Oh, is that so?" She was taller than the wall. She was wearing a hat and made that weird popping sound. As soon as I finished speaking, they both stopped what they were doing, looking stunned. Then my grandfather seemed angry and started asking questions in rapid succession. When did you see her? Where did you see her? How much taller was she than the wall? Startled by my grandfather's reaction, I answered truthfully, and then he suddenly fell silent and walked to the phone by the hallway. I couldn't hear what he said because there was a screen blocking my view. My grandmother, meanwhile, seemed dazed and was trembling. After what seemed like a while, my grandfather returned to the living room and said, "You'll stay here tonight." "No, it's more like you can't go home now." I desperately tried to think of what I might have done wrong, but I had no idea. After all, the woman had appeared on her own. Then my grandfather told my grandmother, "Please take care of things here. I'm going to bring Grandma over," and he left in a small truck. Feeling anxious, I asked my grandmother, who responded in a trembling voice, "You've been bewitched by the yokai called Hachishikuzuma. Don't worry, Grandpa will help you." Before my grandfather returned, my grandmother slowly explained the situation to me. This area has a troublesome entity known as Hachishikuzuma, hereafter referred to as Hachi. Hachi appears in the form of a very tall woman. As her name suggests, she is very tall and emits a popping sound similar to a man's laughter. What each person sees may differ. Some see a young woman in morning clothes, others see an elderly woman in a kimono, or a middle-aged woman in work clothes. But the common point is that she is a tall woman wearing something on her head and has that unpleasant laughter. It is rumored that she was brought here by travelers from outside, but this hasn't been confirmed. Because she has been sealed in this area by the local Jizo, she cannot leave. If someone is bewitched by Hachi, they will be killed within a few days. The last reported incident of Hachi killing someone happened about 15 years ago. I later learned that being sealed by the Jizo means that Hachi becomes unable to discern how to reach the roads leading out of the village, as the village's Jizo temple is right at the edge of it. To restrict Hachi's movement, the village has built Jizo temples in all 4 cardinal directions. However, I don't understand why they would leave such a thing in the village. It turns out it was because of an agreement with a neighboring village, such as having priority access to water resources. Perhaps because Hachi only causes incidents every several years or even a decade, the people of the past thought the benefits outweighed the risks when they signed this agreement. Even after hearing all this, I didn't quite grasp the reality of it. It's only natural. At that moment, my grandfather returned with an old lady. "It's a serious situation. Here, take this," Grandma said, handing me an amulet. Then, she and my grandfather went upstairs, apparently to do something. My grandmother stayed with me, even following me to the bathroom and not allowing me to close the door completely. At this point, I finally felt a sense of impending doom. After a while, I was told to go upstairs to the first room. The windows in the room were all covered with newspapers, and there were amulets taped to them. In the corners of the room were large piles of salt, and on a box, which couldn't even be called an altar, was a small statue of Buddha. Then they brought out 2 urinals, telling me to use those. It's almost dark. Listen carefully. You must not leave this room until tomorrow morning. Neither I nor Grandma will call you or speak to you. Just stay here until 7 a.m. tomorrow. After 7, you can come out on your own, and I will contact the family first. My grandfather said this very seriously, and I could only nod in response. Make sure to follow what I just said. Keep the amulet with you, and if anything happens, pray to the Buddha statue, Kay Grandma added. Although they said I could watch TV, I turned it on but couldn't concentrate because of my anxiety. Before closing the door, my grandmother gave me some rice balls and snacks, but I had no appetite at all. I could only wrap myself tightly in a blanket and tremble constantly. In this state, I lost track of time and unknowingly fell asleep. When I woke up, a late-night program was playing on the TV, and glancing at my watch, it was past 1 a.m. At this time, there were no cell phones. Just as I thought about how I woke up at this hour, I heard a tapping sound on the window. It wasn't the sound of small stones hitting. It sounded like someone was gently knocking. Though I couldn't determine if it was the wind or someone actually knocking outside, I tried to convince myself it was just the wind. To calm myself, I took a sip of tea, but still felt scared, so I turned up the TV volume, forcing myself to watch. At that moment, I heard my grandfather's voice. "Hey, are you okay? If you're scared, you don't have to hold up."